Hey guys, welcome to Panthers Forecast. So yeah, we finally got Jimmy Horn back on the field. So yeah, I'm interested to see. I'm hoping that it's not just on special teams only because David Moore uh, had a pretty nasty twist to his arm on the sidelines. But I'm hoping we also get to see him in the rotation a little bit. I think that should put I think Lee Ged may play. We'll know sooner or later coming on to Sunday. But I think Leggett probably will play. I'm hoping to see Jimmy Horn hopefully get a bit more playing time, and hopefully we can get Hunter Renfro's numbers down a little bit because I do think we need speed, and I think speed's going to also help XL. Well, not so much XL, but T Mac. I meant to say. I meant to say T Mac. The one thing that I am concerned is that I did go see Jimmy Horn when Colorado played U of A down in Tucson. Um, they didn't really use him too much as like a vertical threat. I know it was like LeJounte Webster had the long reach and play, but he was more like a short range or intermediate throws. So we're gonna see how Dave Canales and Brad Izzet can like scheme him to probably get into the open field. But if he could provide a vertical threat, I think that would open up the offense up greatly. Like because we definitely need that speed to start opening up our offense pretty more and. Hopefully we can get Jalen Coker. I believe Jalen Coker probably is not going to be in this game, but I think he might be another week or two out. But XL, hopefully we can get XL back on because I mean it just can't only be Bryson Tremaine and Hunter Renfro and just T Mac because T Mac is still a good you know. As a good receiver, but he doesn't really have that like separation, sort of like a Jamar Chase or a Justin Jefferson. He's still a good receiver. It's just that, once you don't have anybody else around him, you can double XL or, you can let him get probably like, especially if Bryce is getting sacked a lot, if you think about it, we're either in like a third or 20 or a third and 16, it's okay to give T Mac about like, 10 yards and then it'll be like a fourth to five. And then, they can double him and, send enough pressure to get to Bryce. We definitely need to see, hopefully, get this burst of speed going. And we also cut DJ Johnson. What I think about that move is, it's probably like a sign that maybe Avero is probably could be next. But as far as how I feel about DJ Johnson getting cut, I think you don't want to see a player get cut. They work so hard for it. But at the second time, we get to see the younger players get to play. So Princely and Nick Scorden will get more PT time. I don't know how that's gonna fix our fix the situation. I'm not like I'm for the rookies playing, but as far as our defense, hopefully we can start to improve. I still think we need to go get a linebacker. Like that is like we got Jimmy Horn on the field. Thank you, thank you for that. But we still need to get a linebacker. We still need to get some help in that department, and then I think also offensive line. Chandler Savala just got out of the game. So what I say out of the game? He's on injured reserve. So if I go to the Panthers real quick and let's look at our depth chart because with Chandler Savala out, who would that put in? Let's see right there. Savala IR. Brady Christensen. Okay. Okay, so we would have Christensen, Mays, Lewis, and Ekeem and Moden. So yeah, Christensen does pretty well. We're definitely in this draft gonna have to address that. Like our first, I would say, our first two picks Geez, that's probably. I mean, I, I honestly feel like with linebackers, I feel like linebackers are a little bit harder to get. So we would probably be better off using that first round, that first top 10 pick on a middle linebacker. And then maybe on a linebacker, and then maybe go for what's position is left inside linebacker, and then right inside linebacker. Yeah, we definitely need both of those positions filled in the draft, but yeah, we definitely would have to use our first round on a linebacker, and then I would say our second and third, our second, probably get something for our O line. That's my thought about that on as far as the draft. But going back to what I was saying, this game against Miami is this is the season. I think honestly, right here, this is the season, and then also this could also be if we're going to spiral downwards. I saw the Tyreek Hill injury, so he's out for the season. Yeah, he's out for the season for sure. But even still, with the Dolphins, like Jaden Waddle, and then also how Avero calls and places his CBs in the game, like J.C. Horn doesn't follow all the quickest, well, not necessarily the team's best as a receiver all the time. So like it's possible Jalen, what I say, J.C. Horn can be on one side of the field and Jalen Waddle will be on the other side of the field. And Mike Jackson was having, he had that one big play to Stephon Diggs against the Patriots, and Jalen Waddle could possibly do the same thing. So, I mean, we may have issues stopping Jalen Waddle. We may have issues with their running back with Miami. I think his name is Archin. Yeah, I saw the way he was running against. Who were they playing? The Jets. The Jets. Yeah, I saw the way he was running against the Jets, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, like Trevor Etienne was giving us issues. Bijan, even though we did blow out the Falcons, there was a point where he was stopped at the right time before. If I believe it was Nick Scott got the last tackle on him, but had he missed or not been there quick enough, Bijan would have been off for. I think that would have been like a 50 or a 60-yard touchdown run. But it's going to be pretty difficult. And then also too the Miami defensive line was getting to Justin Field, and Justin Field is more mobile than Bryce Young. So we this game is going to be it's going to be tough. I know we're favored. It's showing us being favored by a field goal. And I think also ESPN has us like at a 51, maybe like 52% chance of winning the FPI, the football, I think power index or so, if that's what that's called. But yeah, so some of the moves that we're making so far with Jamie Horn, I'm looking to see if that gives a spark. I'm really looking forward to seeing if he can be our vertical threat. If he can just give some life, because it's just, it's kind of hard to evaluate Bryce. I know most people want to move on from him, but I just, we can't, we're not in a good position, I think, to draft a quarterback. I seriously do think that we still got to improve on the offensive line. We got to improve on our linebackers. And I think that should take higher priority than just like going after a quarterback. Because like if we get a quarterback, I'm seeing people talk about the Oregon quarterback. I haven't watched Dante Moore play yet to see if he's pretty good or not. And then you have the one from South Carolina. And you have, I guess, there's one in Indiana that's supposed to be a pretty good quarterback, but it's just like I don't really see too many people running away this college football season with it as far as a quarterback. I would almost say that I like also Carson Beck, playing with Georgia. And play, I'm a sucker for the SEC schools because some of the best talent is out there in the SEC. So it's like they're seeing on Saturdays NFL talent, people that are going to go to the teams, and I just always feel like it's always a good thing to get those quarterbacks from that play like good competition, like Ohio State, quarterbacks that go to college programs that they, play some of the best schools. I'm always a big supporter of that one. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much my thoughts on the whole DJ Johnson and Jimmy Horn. I'm happy for it. For us getting our young defense, hopefully we can get that together. Hopefully we can have a pretty decent game against the Dolphins. But I'm just thinking about it right now with the Archien and Jalen Waddle and the fact that Tua can be a bit more mobile now. We'll see if Gordon and also too, we're gonna have back. I believe DJ Wanham is gonna be in this game. I don't know if Pat Jones is gonna be in this game, but this would also help out because I think that was also another reason why we had a troubles with the New England Patriots was that most of our starters on the defensive edge side were out, and we needed them in that game. And it just goes to show you that, like, I think on both sides of the ball, we're really not that deep. You look at XL and Jalen Coker being out, and then Renfro isn't really doing too much. Bryson Tremaine isn't really doing too much. So we're still a relatively thin team. On both sides. We can ill afford to lose good the talent that we have. So we have to get better at drafting, and we got to stop. Like I said in the last video, we got to start drafting receivers. We can't just be falling in love just because, oh my God, Mingo and Leggett, they're the next, Debo Samuels kind of guy. Like, we need to get a legit receiver. We need to get legit linebackers, offensive line. No more of this like, oh, well, he's a right tackle, but he can play center. He can play tight end. He can play quarterback. He can play punter. No. We need to get somebody that can, do his job in the offensive line. Let the Patriots do the whole like flexibility and like having like Mike Vrabel being a defensive player, and then you put him in and he's catching the touchdown plays. Let the Patriots focus on that. That's something they've been doing, but the Panthers, we need to just focus on creating our identity. And I think that just starts by, one, we need to make sure we get the best players. And I heard something about like, I believe Dan Morgan was talking about, we need to draft the best player available. And we don't have that luxury, and I don't think you should always do the best player. You should go for the weakest position on your team and try to get the best player for that. Like, people sort of get caught up, I feel like, in the numerical value of the draft, but you got to understand the numerical value of the draft is kind of fake in a way, because if you think about it, like, okay, you can have the first overall pick, and that's obviously, like, that's a high value pick, but the player you select may not ever match up to the value. So you see what I'm saying? Like for instance, Tom Brady is like the greatest quarterback of all time. Was drafted in the 6th round. Can't remember the number, but maybe like 182 or 172 or something like that, or 162. But the point is that, like, you know what I'm saying? The 6th round isn't really viewed as like, valuable, but you still got to develop the player. So I just think that we can't always sit up here and say the best player, because that doesn't always pan out. Like, yeah, he can be, that could just be hype. You can sit up here and see a player and, my Mel Kiper Jr. is, and all the other ESPN heads are like busting them up, talking about like, oh, he's a can't miss some kind of guy and whatnot, and then they're giving him this grades and he doesn't really pan out. You look at, I mean, DJ Johnson, we traded up to get him, didn't work out, what year was that with Cam Newton? I want to say it was either 2014 or 13. The Panthers draft Amani Silto from Midwestern. Yeah, in the second round, and it was, you're all like, what are we doing? You know what I'm saying? So we got to start taking the draft seriously and start drafting position needs. We need a linebacker. We need a offensive line, better pieces in the offensive line. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like we can get that in the draft. Free agency, I would really like us to possibly get a speed demon. We need a speed demon. I don't, as this channel continues to grow, and I'm gonna get better learning how to do this. I think I will one day, sit down here and have a better setup, and we can like talk about the drafts and not always doing it on the phone. Hopefully I can get, move on for that. But back to the speed demon. We need the speed demon. Yeah, I don't know who in this draft. I know there's that one kid in Alabama. He's pretty young. Can't remember his name, but he's a pretty young dude. I think he was playing in the last year's playoff. Made a big time catch. Yeah, he's pretty young, but I think it's like Ryan Kelly or something like that. But I wouldn't mind going after somebody like that, or we just need speed. We need that vertical threat. Because like I said, with Dave Canales, if you look everywhere, Dave Canales go are that sort of in Seattle. He had Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, and then when he went to Tampa Bay, he had Mike Evans and he had Chris Godwin, and then they also had other tight ends, and Trimble's good, JT Sanders on our team is good, so we somewhat have that. We have T-Mac. So T-Mac would be like a Mike Evans or a DK Metcalf, but he's not as physical. But you get what I'm saying. He's that sort of big, tall, sort of, he's not as much of a down-the-field threat in a way as like Mike Evans or DK Metcalf, where they have the ability to take it home, take it all the way home. Although he has had his opportunities. He's either been like held or so, and I want to say most of the time it feels like there's two corners on him most of the time. But going back to that part, yeah. We got the Mike Evans, the DK Metcalf. We're just missing the Tyler Lockett, the Chris Godwin. We're missing that speed. So we're gonna see if Jimmy Horn can bring that vertical. If Jimmy Horn can't bring the vertical, then hopefully he can bring a pretty decent intermediate. But against Miami, I don't know if I'm like expecting him to have a crazy game. I'd love to see it, but yeah, we'll see what happens. How I feel about the game going into Miami is I'm a little nervous because after seeing how they had Justin Fields running around, that's my major concern, because I do know that our offensive line has sort of it's regressed in a way. It's not too bad. It wasn't like 2013. But I would say like last year, how we ended the season off, the offensive line looked good. Probably like the last like 6 or 8 games, the offensive line looked good. It's just that I think this year, people are getting the Bryce. I don't think he has always the cleanest of pockets, but the issue's bigger also than the pocket. I also think that the issue with us is just, we got to get more talent on the receiver side, and we can fix that in the draft. But unfortunately, I think we're gonna have to try to sort of fix that free agency. I just think that we need a speed demon, and depending on how Bryson Tremaine develops and Jimmy Horn Jr. because those two are good receivers. Bryson Tremaine, I've seen some good plays for him. Jimmy Horn Jr. They didn't really give him the ball too much in preseason, which was I found a bit shocking. He didn't get too involved, but yeah, we definitely probably free agency need to find a speed demon in there, or we may have to rely on the draft. But again, like I said, with the draft, I seriously do think that we need to have a boring draft. We need to have a sort of meats and potatoes draft instead of a filet mignon, strawberry cheesecake kind of draft. We're gonna have to have like a lot of linebackers. We're gonna need like maybe some corners, some offensive line. We just need to have a meats and potatoes draft. Get your offensive linemen, get your linebackers. Maybe get another D. Well, we don't really need a D tackle, but yeah, we definitely need to fix that linebacker. Definitely get a stud in there. We definitely, hopefully, cooler heads prevail because I really do feel like if we can get a good linebacker in this draft, hopefully a player stands out later on that's like transcendent and he's like a great linebacker and we can take him. Because I mean most of the drafts people are taking like quarterbacks and whatnot, and there's going to be a lot of quarterback needy teams coming up here. You got like the Saints, you got the Browns. You got other teams out here that are probably going to be looking for a quarterback and whatnot. I'm trying to see. Maybe like the Jets will be one, and the Raiders. The Raiders are probably going to be looking for a quarterback as well. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the game coming up against the Dolphins and the recent transaction against the recent news with Jimmy Horn Jr. and DJ Johnson being cut. But yeah, this is Panthers forecast, and I'll catch you guys on Sunday. Peace.